that was all, brother. I had that tarpon hooked, and he knew it. I started to reeling him in. 5 minutes later, he was on the gaff and in the boat. That was yesterday morning.
Oh, man, yesterday.
That's right, yesterday morning. Then in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock, we were trolling, and
Trolling at 3 o'clock yesterday, said.
But that's what happened, I tell you.
Oh, of course, Charlie. But wait till Isaac Walton hears about this.
Wait till Diogenes hears about it. Kangaroo court. That's an idea. Kangaroo court. We'll get the truth out of you.
Right.
Your Honor. Gentlemen of the jury. I hereby charge this man with lying when he makes a claim, as he does, that he caught a tarpon over the weekend. Such a feat is an impossibility, as I shall now prove.
Now you're talking.
You're right. It can't be done.
I'll say, make him tell the truth.
Order in the court. Proceed, Mr. Prosecutor.
Thank you, Your Honor. It is true, is it not, that you live and work in this city?
Yes, of course.
Item 1. There are no tarpon in this area. The defendant, then, could not possibly have caught one anywhere near his home and place of business. Did you have any extra time off from work on the weekend just ended yesterday?
No, I had just the usual time, Friday evening to Monday morning.
There you are. Item 2. It is hundreds of miles to the nearest tarpon waters. Therefore, it would be utterly impossible for this man or any other man to go there, fish, and get back again, all in the space of an ordinary weekend. Now, in the face of these discrepancies, do you still persist in making this preposterous claim?
I do. I did catch a tarpon, and I caught it yesterday.
Then I repeat my charge. You have uttered a bold, bald-faced falsehood. You, true to the tradition of fishermen, have told a whopper.
Your Honor, if the court please.
Do you, prosecutor, wish to withdraw?
I certainly do not. However, I shall rest my claim for the moment.
You may proceed with the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Gentlemen of the jury, the fact that my client is a fisherman notwithstanding, he has told no untruth, as I shall prove to your complete satisfaction. First, consider the character, and shall we say, professional standing of my client. Your hobby is fishing, is it not?
It is?
Know enough about it to be called an expert fisherman?
Well, yes, I suppose so.
And just where did you get this expert knowledge?
From experience. And from here.
Do any of you gentlemen recognize this publication?
Of course, the #1 sportsman's magazine.
Everybody knows Sports Afield. Best magazine of its kind. Best magazine, period. I can assume, then, that you have the utmost confidence in this periodical and its contents. Now, what would you say if I told you that complete vindication of my client is contained within these pages?
No, I object, Your Honor. This is irrelevant, immaterial, and unconstitutional.
Objection denied. No tricks now.
No tricks, Your Honor. Nice try. Just proof.
Huh?
Positive proof. And here it is.
Oh, well.
May I show it to the jury?
Well, yes, of course. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, what do you know?
Quite an idea, eh?
Huh, that's a new one on me.
Say, that's really something.
You bet your sweet life that's really something. The Flying Fisherman Club, one of the greatest ideas ever introduced to sportsmen. This is the complete and foolproof answer to the charge made against my client. This, gentleman, is actually how he was able to go fishing over the weekend and catch the tarpon he says he caught.
Flying fisherman. Flying fiddle-faddle. I see no proof. Explain yourself. Make it simple. I'm a simple man.
I can see that, and with pleasure. The Flying Fisherman Club is one of the world's most unusual sportsmen's clubs. It is composed of amateur and who have discovered that the world's finest fishing grounds are only a few short hours away by Eastern Airlines. Suppose you're one of them. You get that fishing feeling. Maybe you're working too hard and need a change. Maybe the thought of another weekend of strain and worry gets you down. Maybe, but do you really need a reason to go fishing? So you make a call. A call to any Eastern Airlines reservations office. And you book space to, well, you name it. What's your pleasure? Saltwater fishing? You've got the whole Atlantic seaboard and the Gulf of Mexico to choose from. They're fishing for something, somewhere, all the year round. So it doesn't matter which month you go. Or maybe you're a freshwater fisherman. Fine. Choose your fish. And Eastern Airlines, serving the best inland fishing waters, will get you to where he's the biggest and fightingest. To be specific, though, suppose it's deep blue water that's calling you. At the airport, an Eastern Airlines Sky Giant, fast, far-ranging, comfortable, awaits, ready to carry you quickly and smoothly to the land of tarpon, marlin, sailfish. A great feeling, this, leaving the cares of business behind, the sport of a lifetime ahead. Once on your way, the fun really starts. Aboard a ship of the great Silver Fleet, strain and tension drop away. You're literally on top of the world. Luxury aloft, guest of the line.
Naturally, a sportsman has to build up strength for heavy play ahead. This really lifts the spirit, while the mighty plane annihilates space.
No fisherman ever traveled with better service, convenience, and pleasure. And it's all yours from takeoff to landing. And here we are, Miami, Mecca of sport fishermen from all over the world, and only a few hours by Eastern Airlines from your own hometown. On arrival, our flying fisherman is met by a club representative who has made all arrangements.
On the usual short vacation, half the time is spent just getting ready for fishing. When everything's finally set, the hopeful sportsman feels like collapsing in bed and forgetting about the whole thing. But this is different. There's a sincere feeling of good fellowship and no troublesome details to straighten out. One phone call did the trick. And now, in good hands, he can get right down to important business. At the pier, there's a wide choice of good fishing boats. Here's one that's all set, ready to go. The skipper and men are equally friendly and informal.
These boats are accredited by Eastern Airlines to certify any catch we make. While there are no dues to pay in the Flying Fisherman Club, we must make a catch and have it certified before we can join. This one catch and traveling by Eastern Airlines to make it are the sole requisites for membership in the club. Every catch we make thereafter is also certified, put on the record so that we can compete for trophies awarded and try our luck. This is great sport and high adventure. Anything can happen, so suppose we go looking. A clear blue sky, smooth water, and good companions. The perfect combination for a brief escape from dull office routine. Let others worry about deadlines to meet. This weekend, we'll concentrate on fishing lines. There's room at the stern for several Isaac Waltons, and other lines are strung on the outriggers. With this multiple threat, there should be plenty of action. Of course, it's always possible to wedge in a little time for good conversation. In the boat's wake darts the lure for unwary creatures of Neptune's realm. So I said to the old boy, hold everything. Brace those legs, there's a battle ahead. Strike, and a whopper. Oh, brother, what a beauty. A little breather for a moment.
fish is in no hurry to go aboard. It's a real art, landing a husky fighter with such a light rod. The battle may go on for hours. And now again, a brief rest. But this big boy isn't calling it quits. Well, it's finally the end of the line for our ocean battler. So, with expert assistance, he's hauled in by the nose. From now on, this sailfish will be spending his days in the trophy room, the object of many discussions. So the white flag is run up announcing the sailfish catch, a special event that rightly calls for a bit of boasting. And Florida fishing is really worth talking about. But a flying fisherman has unlimited choice. If he wants plenty of exercise, there's nothing better than going after swordfish. These fish are notoriously tough critters. The sport calls for a king-size rod and a sturdy back. What a long nose you have. Just bringing him in is enough to send a good man reeling. The sword-like beak of this upper jawbone, as you know, can punch a neat hole through the hull of a small wooden boat. So it isn't advisable to go sword fishing in a canoe. This demands a lot of patience. The fish is willing to wait, but our friend's making headway, and it won't be long now. Come aboard, pal, and be introduced to the club. Finally tuckered out, the ocean battler warily surrenders. So he's hauled in, and this is no small job in itself. Gentlemen, this is really a whopper. How would you like to have him over your mat? Fishing off the Florida and Mexican coasts sometimes yields a monster like this. Resembling a flying wing with two nacelles, the manta ray, or blanket fish, can kill a man with his powerful flippers. As we mentioned before, you freshwater anglers have a stake in the Flying Fisherman Club, too. Eastern serves the best of inland fishing waters. All you have to do is get aboard and go. How about a quiet pine forest and a stream all to yourself, like this, with nothing to do but catch a few dozen trout that are just swimming around waiting for you? In a matter of hours or even minutes, you could be here, demonstrating the ancient art of angling. Of course, some people prefer to knock themselves out at the office over weekends, but we won't guarantee they'll have trout for dinner. One thing is certain. Yes, sir, these will provide some edifying eating. Why just sit and dream about trolling for bass? Do it. There's nothing that gives a fisherman that old spine-tingling thrill as when a bass strikes. There's something about it that, well, you know what I mean. You're a fisherman. You keep the line taut because the bass is never yours until he's in your boat. And there he is. Yes, sir. You, plus a lake, plus tackle, plus fighting bass, can add up to a lot of fishing fun. Or perhaps your dish is tarpon fishing. If so, it's a mighty sensible choice. For here's a sport that few can rival. This husky aquatic acrobat will battle it out long enough to suit any sportsman who welcomes a real challenge. Although a native of the sea, this Florida Everglades specimen is in fine fettle and is determined to stay right where he is. With such a light rod, there's a good chance he may, but this puts a quick end to the struggle. And what a glittering beauty. Yes, tarpon fishing requires a high degree of skill. It's a real achievement bringing in one of these babies. He's only about 6 feet long, but he's finny dynamite. Talk about flying fish. This fellow not only leaps, he barrel rolls, tail spins, and performs every trick of an ace pilot. It takes a mighty good fisherman to keep up with him. With the eerie beauty of the Everglades, here's a vacation experience that will be long remembered. So you see, whatever your favorite fish and fishing ground, the finny world is yours when you're a flying fisherman. Whether it's Mexico or Maine, your sport is right next door. It's easy, it's convenient, it's fast by Eastern Airlines. No longer need you say you haven't the time. A weekend is long enough for the flying fisherman. A weekend that's no longer than any other weekend. One that brings zip, ready to tackle the job full tilt, and ready to start planning right away for your next flying fisherman trip.
So you see, gentlemen, my client, the flying fisherman, had ample time to do what he said he did. Catch a tarpon over the weekend. Therefore, I ask you in the name of Kangaroo Court Justice.
What's the matter, huh? Oh.
Don't tell me you slept all the way through my magnificent defense speech.
I'm sorry, Ken, but you see, I'm no fisherman. Now, if you'd been talking about hunting...
So you're a hunter, huh?
Yeah.
Well, just listen to this. The companion club to the Flying Fisherman Club is Eastern Airlines Flying Hunter Club. Eastern serves the nation's choice hunting grounds, too, and makes available to every member the best that every season has to offer in all kinds of game. Deer, bear, moose, game birds like animated etchings in flight formation. They're ready for sportsmen on scores of lakes, large and small, within easy reach by our planes. This goose demonstrates a tricky takeoff technique. Up landing gear, what a smooth takeoff. Here we go. Graceful indeed are the wild wings. Few creatures reveal the coordination of these birds. Out in the open fields, the Nimrod has plenty of opportunity to test his skill. Here's a little chap who's waiting impatiently to appear on your dinner plate. Why not let this pleasant pheasant realize his ambition? And none should quail at the prospect of bringing these in for dinner. Wildfowl can be had for the taking, and there's nothing like communing with nature after weeks of exhausting office duties. If you want a longer trip, pay a visit to Texas wild turkey family. They grow 'em big and long-legged down Texas way. Too bad they don't move as slowly as this one, filmed in slow motion. Whatever the quarry, there's sure to be good companionship on a hunting trip. So imagine yourself in this group. Out comes the dog, and the sport begins. With calls to unwary birds, the dog eagerly ranges the field. Here's a pastime enjoyed by many kings. Looks like we're in business. That's it, pal. Flush him out. Now to draw a bead. That does it. Okay, bring him in. This is really a bird dog's life worth living. Good work, pal. And now we'll leave these lucky fellows and join some other members of the Flying Hunters Club. Perhaps you prefer duck. Well, here's the way to bag a dinner. And again, man's faithful friend takes over. Nice work if you can get it on a warm day. So paddle on, bozo. You'll get your reward later. There we are. Now for the return trip. Yes, a vacation in the great outdoors is a welcome relief from city streets and everyday monotony. And this flying hunter can look forward to a mighty pleasant dinner. There now, feel any better?
Much better.
I was beginning to think that we hunters were being overlooked.
Not a chance. Eastern Airlines always takes care...
May I again remind the defense that a man and nothing else is on trial in this court?
Right, Your Honor, and I believe I've proved my point. On the basis of my evidence, I ask that my client be accused of nothing more than enjoying himself. A few years ago, Charlie, you couldn't possibly have done all you claimed. But today, with the Flying Fishermen and Flying Hunter Clubs, all of this not only is possible, but a reality for thousands of men and women. Rest, recreation, fun, 1,000 or 100 miles away, all on a weekend. All in the space of hours and minutes, no matter where you live. All these dividends, extra dividends, more pleasure from an active life, are a regular part of the activities of Eastern Airlines Club members and are available to all of you. So for you, you lucky man, if it so please the court, I ask that...
What happened?
I don't know. But I've got a darn good idea. Come on.
Hello, Eastern Airlines? Look, I want to go hunting. Now, here's what I want you to do.
Hey, listen, I want to get a...
Oh, shut up, will you? Look, here's what... I wasn't talking to you. Wait a minute.
Give me that phone. I don't know about this Flying
Give me
Fisherman's
that
Club.
phone. Never mind the Flying Fisherman's Club. I want to know about the Flying Hunters Club. My name is Jones. I want to leave here this Friday. I want my one ticket.
Make it two.
Yeah, never mind. I'm a hunter. I'm going hunting. You're a fisherman.
You hunt, I'll fish. Make it two. I want to fly.
All right, make it two. We don't care either way. Get us out of here.
It all began the day I brought Flight 59 into Kansas City from New York. It was a routine flight, and after we secured, I left the plane with my crew. Oh, by the way, my name's Edwards, Bill Edwards, and that's me walking on the right. I went to the ready room with Danny Bell, my co-pilot, to pick up my mail. Most of it was bills and ads, but one letter interested me. Came from a guy I'd never heard of. I was in a hurry and didn't open it, figuring I'd read it later. I didn't get to it until that night, just as my wife Patty was putting the kids to bed.
Good night, Bill. Sleep tight, boy. Good night, boy. You good girl.
Good night, Dad. Mother, can I sleep with Raggedy Ann?
I think so, dear.
Well, the letter gave me quite a surprise. You don't expect letters like this when you're an airline pilot. I waited for Patty to come down so that I could read it to her. Guess what, darling? A passenger wrote me a fan letter. First one I ever got.
Well, you better answer it. Maybe the young lady's going to start a fan club.
But, George, you're right. Maybe she will. A very sound idea.
You mean you aren't going to read it?
Read it? Now? Oh, no.
Bill Edwards, you read that letter. After all, I'm...
Simmer down. Captain William Edwards, Transfer Railroad, Territorial, Kansas City, Missouri, dear Captain Edwards. Sure you want to hear the rest of this? We've never met, so I'll identify myself. My name is John B. Simmons. I flew your airline from Los Angeles to New York last week. You were my pilot on the second leg, Kansas City East. And whether you like it or not, this is a fan letter, my first. You see, Edwards, for my dough, pilots are the airline. Everybody else just sits on the bench and cheers. Now, I don't know whether you remember that Kansas City, New York hop, but here's the way I saw it from my seat. The hostess told us our altitude was 19,000 feet, speed 315. But that newspaper I bought in Kansas City said the weather in the east was generally bad. I could see out the window that it was all below us. That's what I like about your over-the-weather flying. I saw you only once during the flight, and you didn't seem to be worrying about any weather. Another thing, you're about my age. I thought the young flyboys had put you old geezers, you're 37 anyhow, out of business. When that light went on about seat belts and smoking, I began to wonder how you were doing up forward. After all, we hadn't seen the ground since we left Kansas City, and coming into New York isn't exactly like landing at Squeedunk. Anyhow, you brought her down, right through the stuff. A couple of times I couldn't even see the wingtips. And all the time, I kept wishing that I were up front, behind the scenes, where you really see what's going on. Well, we came through, and there was New York, right where it was supposed to be. Not only that, but when we reached LaGuardia, the overcast began to break up and the sun was out. I thought that was kind of appropriate, and so was your landing, not even a bump. You know, Cap, I ride the airlines a lot, and I always wonder why, after a performance like that, you fellows don't come back and take a bow. You'd be surprised at the applause you might get. Wouldn't be for doing something special, mind you, but for doing so well what I'm sure you'll dismiss as routine. Well, I waited for you, but of course, you didn't take your curtain call. You fellas never do. So I put my applause into this letter, Edwards. It's my way of saying thanks for a job well done. Sincerely, John B. Simmons.
That's a nice letter, Bill. Awfully nice.
Yes, nice, but it's all wrong.
Wrong?
Yes, it's wrong. Pilots are the airline. Everyone else sits back and cheers.
Well, don't they, dear?
Oh,
Oh, come now, Bill. You're not going to be modest about this.
no, not modest, just truthful. You know, I'm going to answer that letter, Patty. Maybe I can make one fellow understand what really makes an airline run.
That won't be a letter, my friend. That's going to be a novel. Well, go ahead, Hemingway. I've got a few thousand dull things to do upstairs. Seriously, though, Bill, I'd like to read it before you send it off.
Oh, you'd better come down here, then. It'll be too heavy to carry upstairs. Dear Mr. Simmons, you've just written me my first fan letter, and I'll probably sound unappreciative when I tell you that you've sent it to the wrong guy, a pilot. Actually, sir, I'm just one man on a team, and instead of bench warmers, I've got a lot of blockers and signal callers helping me along. I remember your flight, and I'd like to tell you a few things about it, and about this whole business of making an airline tick. Maybe it'll help explain what I mean. First, about Transworld, the airline I work for. We fly from the Pacific coast to Bombay, 32,000 miles. We hit 4 continents, 60 cities here, and 17 countries overseas. The planes we fly are those of a pioneering outfit. We were first to run coast-to-coast scheduled service, first in over-weather flying, pioneers and de-icers, automatic pilots and radar. I could go on, but that'll give you an idea. Running this airline takes a whale of a lot of teamwork and coordination. Take your flight. First, you picked up your phone and ordered your ticket. Took you all of 2.5 minutes. Here's how. You talked directly to our district reservations office. Here the agent received your order and at a glance was able to confirm that the flight you wanted was open and sell you a ticket. Your order was sent to the message center and immediately teletyped to our reservation service center in Kansas City. "10 minutes after you bought your ticket, by phone in Los Angeles, the name John B. Simmons was entered on the flight listing in Kansas City, and you were all set." A couple of days later, you picked up your ticket at our office at downtown Los Angeles. That didn't take long either with your air travel card, maybe another 2.5 minutes. I've gone into detail about this because so few passengers realize how many people are involved in making ticket buying the painless business that it is. Then your departure day, and you arrived at the airport to check in. Our agent called district reservations to check your space, and before you knew it, you had been officially received. You could forget about your baggage. It would be there when you arrived at your destination. It takes a smooth-working team to make your trip comfortable and pleasant, to arrange for everything, from meals to magazines. Your airplane was ready just a few steps away, and all you had to do was get aboard.
TWA Flight 2, Constellation Service.
Well, they called your flight, and there she was. I don't know about you, Mr. Simmons, but every time I see that Connie, I get a fresh boot out of her. They built her at Lockheed Aircraft in Burbank, California, using the engineering and production techniques that have made us the greatest air power in the world. Each Constellation cost us $1 million, and once you've seen her come together at Lockheed, you know why. She winds up 10 feet longer than a Pullman car, with a wingspan longer than the distance of the Wright brothers' first flight, with horsepower equal to that of 4 fair-sized locomotives. Yet she weighs no more than a locomotive's wheels. When she's finished, we pilots think we've got the slickest ship in the air. Before we ever see her, she's put through a series of exhaustive tests. Every part of her, from nose to tail, gets this treatment. The reason is a word we live by in the airline business. That word is safety. Well, that's the story of your airplane, Mr. Simmons. Now to get back to your flight. You got off on schedule and headed for Kansas City, 5 hours and 10 minutes away. Your pilot was Jimmy Duke, an old buddy of mine. A couple of hours out, you had luncheon. Beef consomme, veal supreme, Duchess potatoes, mixed fresh vegetables, hearts of lettuce with dressing, nut meringue and coffee. Which brings up the food story, one we're pretty proud of. We've done a lot of pioneering here, too. In our Kansas City test kitchen, we're always working on recipes, procedures, and equipment, giving food for thought to food for flying. Although we have 6 food units around the country from which plane service is delivered, our production kitchen in Kansas City cooks all the meats, potatoes, and desserts for the line. 75% of the food used in our coast-to-coast feeding is prepared here. 5 tons of food a week, 2.5 million meals a year. Freezing is the whole story. We don't freeze raw food, but cooked meals. First in pre-cool to lose body heat, then in blast 50 below, finally in hold 10 below. These frozen meals, as needed, are shipped by air to the outlying 6 food units. Each unit restores its own food in special ovens. Freezing enables us to prepare our food well in advance. A meal may be 3 months old when restored, yet it's as tasty as the day it was cooked. Things like salads and beverages, of course, are prepared at each of the 6 food units. Some really neat and efficient containers have been designed for food and drink. Light in weight, that's essential, but sturdy as well as compact. In other words, built for flying. When the plane lands, one of the first things we do is to remove the used service and put in the fresh service, whether it be another meal, a snack, or simply a beverage. Well, Mr. Simmons, with your meal over, you had a chance to look at the scenery. You get a lot of it on that Los Angeles to Kansas City run, particularly that stretch over the Grand Canyon. You know, this letter worries me a little. Are you getting enough of the behind-the-scenes stuff? Tell you what, while you take a nap, I'll try to feed you some inside dope. Let's see. Did you know it cost the company $32,000 to train a Connie crew? $15,000 for the captain alone? Quite a sum. And that brings up another story, the training story. In Kansas City, we run a regular school for captains, first officers, and flight engineers. We not only teach new personnel how to fly for us, but keep our old employees abreast of new developments that are always popping up in aviation. We take 3 physicals a year, 2 government, 1 company. And this constant checking up goes for training, too. Once you're on the line, it never stops. Every 6 months, we get an instrument check, blind flying. And there are regular line checks. Our pilots have logged 1 million hours, Mr. Simmons, but these standards are never relaxed. Well, that's what's behind us. Now about us. I'm 38. You missed by a year. Have 18,000 hours in the log. Started with the line as a co-pilot of a Ford Tri-Motor in 1933. Co-pilot Danny Bell signed on 3 years ago. He's going to make a fine captain one day. We call Andy Dean, our flight engineer, Gadget, but he's really an accomplished licensed mechanic. Barbara McCann and Jane Phillips are graduates of a fine host school. 2 good gals. So much for us, Mr. Simmons. Now, while you were sleeping at 19,000 feet, here's what we were doing on the ground at Kansas City. First thing Danny and I did was to check in at flight control, the operations boys. We talked over New York weather, ceiling 800 with a chance, but only a chance, of lifting. Gas load and the 1,001 details that go into making ready for takeoff. On the average, we have 57 flights in the air every hour of the day, and these boys are watching them all. Next, Meteorology. Our company was the first to employ staff meteorologists, and we listen to what they say every time we fly. The chief gave us the picture, a picture he gets from the government, our own forecasters, and our planes aloft. Weather was pretty punk across the central and eastern states at low altitude. At 19,000 feet, though, we could ride over the cloud tops in smooth air and sunshine, and we bought that right away. Danny had all the dough, and I left him to his bookkeeping and went next door to see Bill Chappell, a friend of mine in flight planning. These boys worry about the economic end of the business, things like available loads, mail, passengers, express, and food. In short, they see that the airline runs smoothly, as an airline must. Meanwhile, Danny was hard at it. I had ordered 4,000 gallons of gas, enough to fly from Kansas City to New York and back again. We burn about a gallon a mile, 5 gallons a minute. I was still talking with Bill when your flight came in from the coast. And right on time, I might say. Right then, a lot of people got busy. Ever watch him ready a plane, Mr. Simmons? Quite an operation, a weight and balance operation. First, weight. A Connie can take off at 96,000 pounds, land at 83,000. The ship will burn so much gas on a flight, weight 6 pounds per gallon. The number of pounds, if you will, of gasoline to be consumed is all important. We have a weight and balance man in our ramp office who figures everything before takeoff, even the weight of the crackers for the soup. As for balance, your mail, express, air freight, and baggage must be distributed just right. I went back to the ready room to wait for Jimmy Duke. We always chew over the first leg of a flight with the incoming pilot. And although I guess we talk a pretty special language, I can sum up what Jim said in a short sentence. Routine flight, airplane perfect. Meanwhile, Andy Dean, our flight engineer, checked over the airplane. This is standard procedure. He's not only trained to do the job, but it's good practice to have it done by a man who's going to ride the airplane. These fellows are like doctors. They know where to look. And this checkup takes place every time one of our planes gets ready for departure. But maintenance is more than an airport job with us. At our overhaul base in Kansas City, Kansas, maintenance never stops. Every time one of our planes flies 1,300 hours, we bring her in and replace her engines. And every 10,000 hours, we give her something called an Op 7, which means we just about tear the whole ship apart and rebuild her. I wish you and all the other people who fly regularly could see an Op 7, because it represents the kind of attention a scheduled airline like ours gives its airplanes. First thing we do to a Connie when she comes in is to remove her engines and tear them down, piece by piece. Each of the thousands of parts is then given an 8-hour cleaning and a chemical wash. part is literally x-rayed to see if there are any imperfections. Then hand inspected against rigid tolerances. Some of the parts are okay, good as new. Others may require reconditioning in our shops. Still others may be replaced. When the engine is reassembled, however, every part measures up. It's really a new engine. After a thorough check by a trained inspector, the newly assembled engine is run for 6 hours on a test stand. Connie gets an interior decoration job in her upholstery shop. They also replace any fabric-covered surfaces that need attention. Meanwhile, our sheet metal shop handles any work on the skin of the ship. The base tests the airplane's radio equipment, every tube of it. It also rips out her entire electrical system and rebuilds it. Her instruments get a ride on an oscillating test machine, which goes through the most severe maneuvers an airplane could be subjected to. We rebuff and inspect the Connie's props, too. Every 3,000 hours, she gets a new set. The balance of these blades is so perfect, Mr. Simmons, that, believe it or not, the weight of a paper matchbox will make them revolve. Continuing maintenance means that a job like this, an Op 7, which takes 4,500 man-hours, can be done in 6 days simply because we have a constant stream of replacement parts going through the base. Last thing we do is weigh the ship. They must stay within 1/2 of 1% of their original weight. Well, it's nice to know you've got that kind of a plane under you, and we try to do right by her. Now for the flight itself.
Kansas City Ground Control, TWA Flight 2. Request taxi clearance, IFR, New York.
TWA Flight 2, runway 17, wind south, variable 5 to 10, north on taxi strip.
You remember we taxied past the tower. These boys are the traffic cops of the airport. They work with Air Route Traffic Control, the government's traffic cop of the airways. They clear my flight plan and keep checking my progress all along the line. We move down to the warm-up block. I suppose you wondered why there's always a delay before takeoff. Here's what's going on up front.
Flux gate compass.
Directed.
Vacuum.
Check 2 to 4 inches.
Directional gyros.
Set nut gauge.
Trim tabs.
Set.
Takeoff flaps.
Takeoff flaps.
Pitot heaters.
Check heater.
Control surfaces.
Free and full travel.
Engine instruments.
Normal.
Generators.
On.
Carburetor air.
Cold.
Propellers.
Full increase.
Mixtures.
Bridge.
Fuel pumps.
On high.
Airplane.
Ready.
Kansas City Tower, TWA Flight 2, ready for takeoff. TWA-2, clear for takeoff.
Up gear.
Up gear.
Well, we reached our altitude and we couldn't see the ground. We didn't have to. Here's how we knew where we were all the way. First, we were on the beam, kept getting its signal. Second, automatic direction finder. The airway is marked with radio signposts. As we pass over each one, the needle swing from dead ahead to astern. And our third check, a marker light flashes on.
Flight 2, Columbia 03, 19,000, visual on top, St. Louis 25.
And that's the way it went all the way, 1,100 air miles.
Flight 2, St. Louis 25, Indianapolis 10.
Midway between points, we tune in on the station ahead and ride in and out of that range.
Flight 2, Indianapolis 10, Columbus 4747. Flight 2, Columbus 46, Pittsburgh 1717. Flight 2, Pittsburgh 18, Allentown 1111. Flight 2, Allentown 11, LaGuardia 3535.
At the Flatbush fan marker, we picked up ILS, Instrument Landing System. 2 radio beams indicating direction and glide slope. As we progressed along the ILS, radio markers gave us the distance from the field. Then, by keeping the cross pointers at right angles, we held the plane right on the beam. And the beam brought us straight and true right into our landing. Well, that's the story, Mr. Simmons. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to meet you personally, but I expect I will one of these days. You said you were a regular. In closing, let me say to you, one of our 2 million passengers, thanks a lot from me. Just one guy among 12,000 people who run the airline that brought you home safely, comfortably, on time.
Welcome to Western Airlines Spaceship Service.
Western Airlines? But I want to go to Los Angeles.
We are.
But
Now, Western flies are nonstop, too.
are you going to Los Angeles?
Western Airlines DC-10 spaceships, the new nonstop way to Los Angeles. Complimentary champagne and punch. First-run movies in stereo on every flight. Only on Western.
Are you going to Los Angeles? Yes, sir. Are you sure?
Welcome to Western Airlines Spaceship Service.
Western Airlines? But I want to go to Miami.
But we are going to Miami.
But I thought...
Now, Western flies are nonstop, too.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Are you going to Miami?
Now there's a new way to fly nonstop to Miami on Western Airlines DC-10 spaceships with things like complimentary champagne and punch. A choice of delicious entrees and coach.
Are you going to Miami? In Florida?
Sure.
First-run movies in stereo on every daytime flight.
Are you going to Miami?
all with the extra leg space of Western's DC-10 spaceships. Only on Western to Miami.
But you going to Miami?
Yes, sir. Are you sure?